Today I want to talk about white space. White space. Let me first define what I mean by white space. White space is just some space between characters in the source code. There are three types of white space that we'll be talking about. The first one is the one you get when you hit space. The second, when you hit new line character. That is, when you hit the enter key. The third one is when you hit the tab key. Okay, here's the first example. Let me quickly show the same thing here too. Now I'm hitting space, the new line character, and the tab character. The tab is essentially the same as space, and it can also be seen as multiple spaces. This is an important topic because, for example, how can you tell whether I can delete this space right here and it will still work or not? In fact, C is a quite primitive language when it comes to white space, unlike, say, Python. For example, can you tell me what's the point of having space right here? The point is that you can group pieces of code, for example this, and keep it separate from other groups of code, which would be this. And also, you can put new lines as many as you'd like. But now the main question is, where can we put white spaces? The rule is as follows. You can put white spaces between two tokens. For example, this main word here is a token, and this brace here is also a token. So by this rule, you should be able to put spaces in between. Let me give you another example. This brace here is a token, and this void keyword is also a token. So you can separate them with spaces, new lines, and tabs. Let me take it back. Let me go through all the tokens in this example so that you have a better sense on where you can put white space. Let's start. This right here is a token, and this thing here is also a token. Usually tokens are colored in different colors, for example orange and blue. But this line here is an exception. So let's move on. This int here is a keyword and also a token. This main here is a token. This brace, this void keyword, this brace, and this brace are all tokens. Here's a quick quiz for you. Is it legal to remove this space here? Well, it should be able to, but when we do so, this becomes a new word, int main, which doesn't make sense for C. So the second point is, we can't remove the space between two keywords. Main is not a keyword, it's just a name, but the point is, you can't remove the space between two words, because there's no way to distinguish the two words. But for example, this space here could be omitted, because in C we can't have words combined with braces. So it's obvious that these two are separate tokens and hence can be separated and kept together. On the next line, we have printf, which is a token, then the brace, then this whole thing is a token, even though it has a space in between. How do I know that it's a token? Because it's a string literal. String literals start from double quotes and end with double quotes. And you can also tell that it's a token by looking at its orange color. Then we have closing brace and a semicolon. For example, since these two are separate tokens, we could separate them by a new line. And since this and printf are two separate tokens, we could have them on a single line, like this. But this would be ugly, so it's better to have it on a new line. And since this semicolon is a part of this command here, it's better to keep it on the same line. Next, we have return keyword, which is a separate token, and 0. Notice that we couldn't have them together like this, because C considers letters and numbers a part of the same name. For example, you could have a name called return 0. So we must keep them separate. And then there's the semicolon, which can also be kept separate. Now, when it comes to these braces here, there are two big clans in the world of programming. The first clan likes to preserve space, so they prefer the brace on the same line as this part here. But the second clan claims that it doesn't make sense, because the point of this brace here and this brace here is to point at the start and the end of the block. So they prefer this to be like this, aligned. As you've just learned, this fundamentally doesn't matter because the computer only cares about the tokens and not the white space. And personally, I prefer having it this way. Okay, now let's move on to the second example. I'll do the same thing and point out all the tokens in this one. But if you want to do this on your own, please pause the video and move on to the next one. As always, the solution will be in the resources folder. Okay, now I start. This here is a token. This one here is a token. Let's move on. Int is a token. Main is a token. Opening bracket is a token. And close bracket is a separate token. We could separate them like this. Curly brace is a token. Character is a token. It's a keyword. Then name is a token. Opening angle bracket is a token. This one as well. Equals is a token. And now we have another string literal, which is a token. The semicolon. Here we have printf. Here we have opening bracket. Here we have another string literal. And again, everything inside a string literal can be considered as one. Then we have comma. Then we have name. Then we have closing bracket, semicolon, return, 0, semicolon, and closing bracket. So yeah, I hope it was clear enough. If it's not, please ask a question in the Q&A section. Also, you can get these two files from the resource folder. Okay, that's it for this video. See you next time.